Okay, so ABNcast has gone on the road again. We're in Amsterdam for the World Aviation Festival. And joining me on the first day is Tomasz Pawliszyn, who is the CEO of AirHelp. Welcome. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, it's all correct.
Just about.
Thank you for having me, Lee.
It's Thomas from now on, that's easier. So you've just come off stage, Thomas, talking about AirHelp, talking about disruption. Just tell us a little bit about what you're talking about in your session.
Yeah, so disruption is a hot topic recently, right, for the last 2 years. And we can see by number of people joining the discussions. A few years ago it was empty rooms.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID 2019, disruptions were not on the same level, right? We see at least 50-60% rise on disruptions in 2023 to 2019, and now 24 is even more of disruptions.
Okay. So it's getting worse since COVID?
Unfortunately, it's getting worse. Many reasons, but unfortunately it's getting worse. So there is big interest and, of course, lots of discussions around the topic.
Yeah. Before we started going into what those discussions are about, AirHelp, so just explain what you do and how you fit into the ecosystem.
Yes. So we are a tech company. We like to use the tech for good. So we are assisting passengers or travelers in disruption management. So we are either the big brands, OTAs, TMC Airlines, refer clients to us, or also through the B2C channels, they come direct to us and they ask for help in an event of flight disruption. We also do a lot of travel insurance, lounge access, etc. So anything that can ease the travel and turn disruption into something more manageable. We are a global leader in what we do, so we are number one globally. We work mostly in EU, US, but also across the globe, depending on the needs of the travelers.
So you're effectively educating the traveling public is essentially to what their rights are and giving them access to their compensation or whatever it is that they actually deserve if there's a disruption to a flight.
Yes, a lot of clients actually come to us with this very reason, right? Yeah. To check whether they are eligible for compensation. But it's not all what we do, but from purely B2C perspective, we became known for that, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So your relationship with the airlines in that case, because I can imagine from an airline's point of view, I don't really want to be paying out compensation to everybody.
Yes.
However, there are rules in place, and obviously we know there's very strict rules in the EU. The EU 261 is in place now. You cannot avoid that. So how do the airlines see you? They see you as a partner in this, do they?
Well, I would like to say they see as a partner. Right? We don't create disruptions as AirHelp, right? Yep. We only assist passengers. So if clients are looking for help, we are going to help them. This is our role. And if travel brands refer their clients to us to help them, of course we are going to help, right? But I think we are in the place today. EC 261 in Europe is for now 21 years.
Is it? Gosh, yeah. Okay.
It's not going
so
to
we should be used to it by now.
Going to disappear.
Yeah.
Rule is a rule, but it's not only in Europe, right? We have the same in UK, we have the same in Turkey, very similar in Canada, Saudi Arabia. Now Australia is working on their own, US is working on their own, right? Brazil has. So it's became a global global regulation, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So it exists. One side, rules exist, as you say, but also disruption exists, right? So we are here to assist passengers that fall into the trap of disruption. It's a very difficult role because no one likes disruptions. Right? Airlines hate disruptions because a lot of disruptions is not in their control, like weather, traffic control. And clients hate it even more because we're disrupting their holiday, business trip, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So a difficult role to be in.
Yeah. Look, we know very well. But funny enough, this morning, a colleague of mine was coming out to this event, and the flight was cancelled on the way to the airport. I mean, there's nothing worse than that, and you're left having to fend for yourself. You had to go and get another flight. This is happening a lot. We'll just go through some of the reasons why. You said it's going worse.
Yes.
Why is that? I know there's many reasons, but what's some of the key reasons as to why it is getting worse?
So if we look at Europe and US as an example, because the reasons are very similar. One is weather. Weather became unpredictable.
Okay.
So a few years ago, 2010 and before, weather was quite predictable. You had snow in January, sun in July, pretty much in Europe. Now it's not the case anymore, right? You might have snowstorms in April in the north of Europe, right? Something never happened before. You might have floods like recently we've experienced in many countries in Central Europe. just now in September.
So
lots of
floods in Dubai earlier in the year, which you
Yes.
would never believe, would you? But it happened.
So a lot of different issues. Floods in Dubai. We had a snowstorm in South Africa 2 weeks ago, right? Closed the airport. So weather became unpredictable. So it's very difficult to plan the network accordingly. This is one thing. And another big thing is, of course, air traffic control restrictions, right? Due to capacity or issues within the systems. Only this year we have 80% more disruptions due to ATC versus last year. 80%, so almost double. Right, so this is big, and the traffic didn't double, right? No. The traffic is only 5% more versus last year, and we are not seeing this easing out because one, the systems are old and need some upgrade. But on another side, we have more and more planes, right? Within the same network. Network is already congested. It's very difficult. We have areas in Europe with so congested you cannot imagine having another plane. Look at London, look at Istanbul, Amsterdam here where we are, right? And then we see new planes coming, almost every day. There's airline adding additional route, and this is even with all the delays on the planes, right? So imagine there's no delays on Boeing and Airbus. So this all adds to the equation.
You've got older flying aircraft. They tend to go tech more often. It's of course it's a bit of a perfect storm really, because you've got soaring demand. The industry is actually struggling to cope with the demand, aren't they? Supply.
And airports are the size they are, right? They're not going to extend the airports. Again, we are in Amsterdam, a big story, right? So actually, they deciding to limit number of planes flying to Amsterdam. We have the same discussion in Dublin, of course, ongoing for years in Heathrow, and etc. So airports are not expanding, so they have to feed more and more planes within the same space.
But no airline wants to disappoint their customer. Clearly, you're a customer service industry, but as we know, it happens. And what is the benefit, therefore, of an airline grasping this AirHelp concept, this idea that we're going to help you access the compensation? It seems slightly counterintuitive, but
it is.
Why would an airline think this is a great thing for us to do?
Well, it's one of the elements, right? This one thing cannot solve anything, right? But one of the elements. So if the rules exist and you comply to the rule, so you have to respect it, and we have to remember the compensation is in place by the request of the client. Not everyone requests, right? Only hugely below 50% of travelers request a compensation, right? But when the request is given by the client, airline has to respect it and assess the eligibility of the claim, and with our help, it works quite smooth, and then process such a compensation. Again, having disrupted passengers and not doing anything about disruption, it's terrible, right? We know the NPS drops to 0. Having client going through disruption and with a proper communication, a proper resolution, is not only about the compensation, it's about the information, being proactive, telling upfront what's happening, how can we solve the problem, when are you flying, when are you rebooking is. So having cancelled flight is not the problem. The problem is you don't know what's next, right? The problem is, when is my next flight, right? Can I get there on time? Am I missing event, a wedding or a funeral, right? Am I missing a day of my holidays? Or maybe I'm missing a day of my work day because I'm coming back from holidays, right? All of those things are the more important than the disruption itself, right? What's next? So compensation is only one of the elements. So if airline does it well, there are multiple studies from almost negative NPS, we end up with NPS, this is higher than non-disrupted passenger. And this is also across industries. If you disappoint someone, you are apologetic, you solve the situation properly and quickly, without a fuss, the client leaves happy. Right?
And NPS, for those who don't know, Net Promoter Score, it's essentially a gauge as to whether you would recommend a particular product or airline to a family member or friend.
Yeah, exactly. And this is even more important than ever, right? NPS for airlines, because loyalty among travelers is slowly disappearing, right? People, we process only last year almost over 4.5 million clients came to us. This year is going to be more. And what we see a pattern that people, travelers, more than often don't even know which airline they flew. Because they wanted to get the first airline Friday morning, going for holidays to Ibiza. The cheapest was, I don't know, this airline flying this time feeds me, this airport feeds me, 49 euros, I'm in, right? It doesn't matter which airline is that.
Price, really.
It doesn't matter which airline they fly. So now if there's disruption, it starts to matter because then you have to know who to talk to, where to contact, where to look at, right?
Yeah.
And if you resolve it properly, then actually the airline gets to stuck into your head as something positive. Right?
And I guess, and maybe this is another advantage of being proactive and solving it properly, is that maybe you reduce the amount people claim because they're not as angry. So maybe, I don't know if you see that happening. But also, are you seeing, because of the sort of maybe the compensation culture and people realizing there is this compensation out there, do you see a rise in spurious claims from airlines, which they have to sort through, so they're not paying people who aren't due compensation?
So if clients come through AirHelp process, we have different acquisition models. We have partnership with more than 880 airlines today.
Right.
So airlines know it for many years. For big airlines we have more 10,000-15,000 passengers per week, right? That we try to process them with the airlines. So airlines know us very well. So then, because we prepare the whole documentation, we validate the claim eligibility, collect the documents, validate them, signatures. Then we go to the airline. It's kind of a clear case, right? It's this person deserves compensation. Airlines transfer us once a week, just to us, bulk money we distribute it to travelers. Versus if clients go directly to airline, right? Airline has to deal with maybe 100,000 clients a week, and maybe only 5,000 of them are actually eligible for compensation. But they have to process 100,000 passengers. Respond, sometimes deal with them, argue with them, because clients know their rights sometimes in a different way. So you have these two scenarios: either we do it or airline do it. The amount paid is the same, right? Whether it's going for. So this is one thing. But there is something very interesting we start to notice, for example, with the luggage compensation, right? And with luggage compensation, one of our products is immediate luggage payout. So when your luggage is delayed, it's basically not there when you arrive. We issue automatic payout, right, for every luggage checkout. And this might be €150 per bag check. If we do that on time, proactively, we see, and this is insurance based, so airline doesn't have to pay it, insurance pay for it, right? Airline doesn't pay for it, zero. If we see this, if we do that, there is much less extra expenses claims going to the airline. Because if your luggage is delayed or lost, passenger has a right to recover those expenses from the airline. But if we have this nice product, this proactive luggage insurance and it works properly, there is much less clients going to airlines for extra expenses.
That's a trend in insurance, isn't it? They call it embedded insurance. And you get people now, even for things like weather, we'll compensate you before you've even claimed, no claim compensation. Which is really a really interesting way of dealing with clients. That's almost like surprise and delight them. Even if in a bad situation, and you're not going to change the situation.
So you can turn the compensation models, right, or compensation rules, and there's of course disruption compensation, EC 261. There is luggage compensation. That is Montreal Convention, right, and there is purely airline cost. You can transfer it into insurance, right, and then it becomes insurer headache. If you want to call it, right. But airline gains a lot of NPS thanks to it, because the client in the end thinks it's airline. Deals with me. Oh, so nice of you, right? And clients are less likely actually to file for the proper compensation.
So presumably, with all the additional disruption, with companies like you raising awareness, the amount of compensation is going up all the time. The airline industry is paying out. Is it continuing to go up, or are we seeing a sort of plateauing now? Or
I think what we've noticed is growing with the growth of disruptions. It doesn't grow faster than level of disruption, but it grows with the level of disruptions.
Okay. So is the airline industry trying to deal with those disruptions? Is that possible, or just some things like weather you can't control?
There is a lot of good cases, and we've heard quite a lot today how airlines are dealing with disruptions. There is a lot of progress on this, but some things you learn too late to do anything with it. In the airline industry, if disruption happens, it's basically because no one knew about it. Right? Because if they knew ahead, they would fix it ahead of time, right? Anticipate it, prepare, or maybe even fix, right? So the disruption happened because no one is prepared. So ATC disruptions coming.
There's always new things coming on in aviation.
Right.
That you can't
Weather
anticipate.
is ad hoc. ATC is ad hoc. Technical problems with the plane are usually ad hoc. Medical issues on plane, ad hoc. You cannot prepare for them, right?
Our time's nearly up, but just a quick thought on the event. It's the first day, so it's It's kind of half open.
Yes.
It's busy in the area in the moment, but then the big hall opens tomorrow.
Yes.
What are you hoping to get out of this week? I think it's going to be 4,000 or 5,000 people here.
No, as always, it's usually a very good time to meet everyone, all our partners, discuss them, have an idea about new products that can help passengers. Hopefully get some new contacts for new partnerships ideas. But my role today is mostly meet everyone I know and discuss what's happening. Are they solving their problems? Are they happy with our partnerships?
Yeah. Good place to meet existing clients as well as maybe some new. If you've got 800 odd airlines, there's not many new ones around. So, look, Tomasz, thanks for joining us on ABN Cast. Really appreciate your time and have a good couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.